Well, come to Global News. I am Ollie, and you are watching Global News. Please subscribe to watch latest news, and also press bell icon to receive alert about news. What they are, and what to expect if 2024 triggers one. Contingent elections have happened before. However, our most recent was in 1837. The possibility of a 269-269 electoral college tie is real. Let's say Vice President Harris loses Pennsylvania and Georgia, but she prevails in Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Harris also collects a singular electoral vote in Nebraska's 2nd Congressional District. Maine and Nebraska distribute their electoral votes based on which presidential candidate prevails in each congressional district. For instance, in 2020, Representative Don Bacon, Arneb, won even as President Biden carried the district. In Maine's 2nd Congressional District, Representative Jared Golden, D. Maine, won, yet former President Trump bested Mr. Biden in that district. Nebraska has 5 electoral votes. Mr. Trump received 4. President Biden won. Maine has 4 electoral votes. The president earned 3. But former President Trump collected 1. So, it's then up to the House of Representatives to select the President and the Senate, the Vice President, in a contingent election. Here's the fascinating part. Each state votes as a state delegation, but receives only 1 vote in a contingent election. In other words, California, with its 52-member delegation comprised of 40 Democrats, counts the same as South Dakota, with its lone Republican. But we don't truly know the breakdowns of each congressional delegation for next year which could vote in a contingent election. We only know the breakdown for this Congress. The new Congress isn't sworn in until January 3rd. 2025. Here's an analysis on where each state delegation stands now, and where they could stand come January. As of this moment, Republicans control 26 state delegations, ranging from all Republican West Virginia to mostly Republican Florida and Texas. Democrats rule in 22 state delegations. That includes mostly Democratic New York and all Democratic Massachusetts and Connecticut. 2 states are tied. Minnesota features a 4-quarter split between the parties. North Carolina is divided 7/7. But what does the House look like next year? Things would still favor the GOP even if Democrats win control of the House with the most seats. And evaluating the map, the odds favor Republicans to control the most state delegations. But nothing is a done deal. So let's study state delegations, which have a chance of flipping one way or the other in 2025, and how that could sway a contingent election. Alaska is a fascinating place to start. Representative Mary Peltola, D. Alaska, won this statewide seat in a special election in 2022 after the death of late Representative Don Young, R. Alaska. Young represented the state for 49 years. Peltola is up against Republican Nick Begich, JRB, grandson of late Representative Nick Begich, C. Oster, D. Alaska. Ironically, Young took the seat after the elder Begich died in a plane crash. Also on the ballot, John Wayne Howe and Eric Hafner. If Democrats are to hold the House for a potential contingent election, they need Peltola to win. Former President Trump won Alaska in 2020 with 61% of the vote. Where could Democrats flip a congressional delegation in their favor? Arizona is a case study as to why it's hard for Democrats to gain traction in state delegations. Arizona is a swing state at the presidential level, but there are 2 Republicans at risk. Representative Dave Schweikert, R. Riz, narrowly won 2 years ago. Freshman Representative Juan Chisco Mani, R. Riz, also represents a battleground district, but Republicans currently hold a 6-3 advantage over Democrats in the House delegation. Democrats have an outside shot at moving the delegation to 5-4 in their favor should they knock off 2 incumbents. But that's dicey. Colorado's House districts currently favor the Democrats, 5-3. But in order to maintain that advantage and avoid a 4-4 tie, freshman Representative Yadira Caravio, D. Colapoet, must-win re-election. Caraveo won her first term with less than 50% of the vote in 2022. As mentioned, Maine awards its electoral vote proportionately. Golden is one of the most moderate Democrats in the House, routinely winning close races. But Maine only has 2 House seats. Representative Chellie Pingree, D. Maine, holds the other one. Pingree is favored to win this fall. However, if Golden loses, Maine's delegation is tied. How that delegation votes in a contingent election is anybody's guess. A tie essentially nullifies that state's vote in a contingent election on the House floor. In the contingent election of 1801, the House delegations of Vermont and Maryland were split evenly. The House then consumed 36 ballots before electing Thomas Jefferson. One of the reasons Jefferson became president is that Maryland's House delegation eventually dropped its deadlock. Maryland had voted 4-4 for days, but Jefferson prevailed after 4 of Maryland's House members didn't vote on the 36th ballot. It's also worth keeping an eye on Nevada. Nevada is a key state at the presidential level. Democrats hold a 3-1 House advantage. A loss by Representative Susie Lee DeNevritol could tie that delegation 2-2, taking away the Democrats' advantage. Minnesota is another state with the 4-4 tie in its delegation. Probably the best chance for Democrats here is to hold the tie and nullify the Gopher state's vote in a contingent election. Representative Angie Craig, D. Min, historically wins with slim margins. A loss by Craig flips the Minnesota delegation to 5-3 in favor of Republicans. Now, buckle in. North Carolina is where things get intriguing. North Carolina is now in play at the presidential level. What happens if Harris wins all 16 of North Carolina's electoral votes, but there is still a contingent election in the House because no candidate reached 270? Does the North Carolina House delegation, now leaning heavily toward the GOP, ignore that fact in a contingent election on the House floor and vote for former President Trump? Or do those House members, mostly Republicans, cast their ballots for Harris because that expresses the will of the voters in their state? House members are not bound in any way, shape or form to reflect the outcome of the popular vote or electoral college in their states. House members can vote however they want. Consider Georgia. It's highly competitive at the presidential level. However, Republicans lead 9-5 in the House delegation. That delegation is not on the edge. Let's say Harris wins Georgia. How does Georgia's delegation vote in a contingent election? Pennsylvania is a little like North Carolina. The Keystone State is up for grabs this fall. Democrats command a 9-8 advantage in its House delegation. However, that's not a lock. Reps Chris DeLuzio, D. Penn, Susan Wild, D. Penn, and Matt Cartwright, D. Penn, all represent competitive districts. On the Republican side, Representative Brian Fitzpatrick, R. Penn, Susan Wild, D. Penn, and Matt Cartwright, D. Penn, all represent competitive districts. On the Republican side, Representative Brian Fitzpatrick, R. Penn, has a district which has the potential to be in play. Pennsylvania is challenging for Democrats to hold at the House level, regardless of what happens at the top of the ticket.